Hey y'all, I'm T the Brand, lash artist and coach. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some tips about a real big deal for most artists, especially beginner lash artists. I am sharing tips on how to help you lash faster. I know in the lash community, especially when you're a beginner artist, one of the main concerns is this is taking me too long. Oh, this artist has posted that it only took them this amount of time to get their lashes done and it's still taking me X amount of hours. Y'all, I'm here to help. And so first things first, I just want to say this. Beginner artists, your set should never take between 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That is not a flex. That is a huge red flag. You are probably doing something wrong. So if you see artists posting about how little amount of time it takes them to get a set done, it should never take you that small amount of time because there's so much work that goes into creating eyelash extension sets. There's so many safety protocols you have to follow. You have to make sure that you are isolating. That means every single eyelash that you put an extension on needs to be by itself, no stickies. And if you do get stickies, you go back through the set and you want to separate those lashes because if you don't, it creates some serious discomfort for your clients. Speaking from experience, their lash lids will be sore, their natural lashes aren't able to shed, and it's a total no-no, and you lose clients and you just invalidate the credibility and the legitimacy and the integrity of your business. So we don't want to do that. I know when we're first starting, 5 hours, 4 hours, that is totally normal, okay? So do not feel bad. Don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. You are learning. You're still building the muscle memory in your hands. You're still learning the process of lashing. Your fan making might not be as fast and as quick as experienced artists. So it is okay if you are taking that amount of time. I will say just generally, any full set will probably take, even as an advanced artist, anywhere between 2.5 hours to 3.5 hours, depending on how many natural eyelashes your client may have. So don't beat yourself up about it. All right, so we're gonna get into these tips. So tip number 1 that I have is to make sure that your lash area is prepared before your client arrives. When I first started lashing, it was at the beginning of the pandemic, and I had people advising me like, oh yeah, make sure that your people see you wiping this down and wiping this down and wiping this down. And I'm like, if you dirty, just say that. Because how much time is it gonna take for me? Now listen, I did do this, but I had to learn for myself. Wiping that bed, waiting for them to get there, wiping the bed down, wiping my equipment down, sanitizing my tools, making sure that everything had time to dry and be properly clean. Before you knew it, we're about 20 minutes into your service time. And then during that time, we're consulting. And then I gotta tape you down and blah, blah, blah. Make sure that you prepare before your client arrives. Have your table already disinfected and sanitized, your chair, your bed, whatever you lash your clients on. Have it already sanitized. Have it already dressed and ready to go. Make sure that you have all of your tools set out and prepped. If you use a lash cart, make sure that it's organized. If you are pulling your tools from a table, maybe a little setup to make it easier so you're not shuffling through your cart. Make sure you have everything that you're going to need for your service on your table. It will help you feel less anxious, and it will help your your appointment. It'll help your appointment flow just so much smoother. All right. Tip number 2: pre-make your fans. Artists go crazy when I say this, and it sends me into a real place of humor because the main reason is always like, oh, I don't have time to do that, and I'm like, that's the whole point. You want to save time during the appointment, so that means you are going to have to invest some of your time, invest some of your energy into making your fans beforehand so that you're not keeping your client on your table all day, and so that you're not leaned over, neck, back, shoulders hurting, butt hurting all day because you didn't get to pre-make your fans, or most of the service time was spent making fans. So definitely pre-make your fans. That is tip number 2. Tip number 3: Practice isolation and fan making on your mannequin or on somebody you may live with, on a friend, anybody you can practice on. Of course, human eyes are so different from the mannequin eyes, so there are a lot more lashes when you lash an actual person. But what's most important is that you get your muscles in your hand built up and you get used to practicing isolation. I keep looking over here because I'm looking at tweezers, so let me grab a pair. So you want to make sure that you are building this up. And when you're practicing, even on your mannequin, go in, find that lash, isolate it, hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Because when you're actually lashing, you're picking up a fan and you're placing it on that natural lash and you're giving it time to dry. It's not just separate, isolate. No, that's not what's happening. So definitely make sure that you are practicing your isolation so that you get faster, so that you get better, and so that it becomes easier. And practice your fan making. Fan making isn't an overnight process. It took me a while to learn how to properly make fans, and I always shared that I thought I sucked at fan making until I learned that it was the tweezers that I had. So make sure that your tweezers have great grip, and make sure that you're comfortable using your tweezers. So yeah, pre-making those fans and practicing your isolation. Tip number 3. All right, so we're moving on to tip number 4. Tip 4, I already kind of shared about making sure you have your lash cart organized. If you happen to need something off your cart during the service, you don't want to be knocking stuff over, shuffling, making all this noise, because your client may be asleep and now you're panicking, they're panicking. You may feel a little anxiety if you can't find what you're looking for right off. So definitely make sure that you are staying organized and keeping your lash work supplies clean and in a decent place, an easy accessible place for to make your service move by a little faster. Tip number 5, y'all, map your sets. I don't care if you just started lashing 3 hours ago or if you've been lashing for the last 30 years. Lash mapping definitely helps you get through those sets in a faster time, and let me tell you a few reasons why. First of all, lash mapping it separates an eye into different sections. And what you get to do, you can work a section on this eye. Say your inner corner. You start with your inner corner, and then you do your inner corner on your other eye. And then you go back and do your outer corner. Then you do this outer corner. Okay, depending on how many sections you've created, you may only have 2 or 3 left. You work this section, work the same section on the other eye, and it makes the process go faster. It also helps you prevent stickies. Usually what we're doing when we're lashing, we'll find a lash, isolate it, put the lash on, and then we move over to another section of the eye. And what happens sometimes is that lash that you've lashed, it didn't get to dry. So when you move those lashes over to get another easily accessible eyelash, now you've created stickies. Versus when you're using lash mapping, you get to actually pay attention and really focus on not moving on and shuffling and getting lashes stuck together. And if a lash does get stuck to another while you're lashing, when you're mapping, you're working in that one section so you can see, oh dang, that lash just hit this lash, and you can separate them before the glue dries. There are so many benefits to lash mapping. Again, your time, it decreases the time, you're able to prevent stickies, and you're just able to work in sections, and it makes you it helps you be able to see your process through the set a little easier. And here's a free bonus tip number 6, y'all, don't give up. Do not give up. There were so many times in my lash journey where I wanted to quit because it took too long. My body was hurting. I wasn't doing my fans right. There was just so many things to learn, and there are always things to learn. Even now, as an expert artist, there are still things for me to learn. There is still room for me to grow, and so is there for you. Be patient with yourselves. Give yourself some grace. You are doing a great job. You have learned a new skill. You're perfecting a skill, and you are making women feel amazing and beautiful and saving them time. So yeah, definitely don't give up. Keep at it. I'm so happy to be able to be here to share with you guys just some free tips on different things. Again, if you have not, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. If this was helpful, comment and let me know. Like the video, turn your bell notification button on so that you are notified every time I post a new video. Thank y'all for tuning in, and until the next one, y'all be easy.